We're here in the gallery celebrating our 20-year anniversary of the Museum of Idaho. This is one of those things where it's fascinating to look back through the years and see what exhibits we've hosted and what sort of an impact that's been on the community. One of the things that I find most interesting is that we have parents that are coming in with their children who talk about their first experience in the museum, and the fact that we're on second generation is just extraordinary to me. We've hosted so many different exhibits with wildly different themes. The other thing that's interesting is that there are a lot of people who will come in and talk about their experience in the museum and how they were exposed to something new as a child, and it took them in a direction they didn't know even existed. So perhaps through their education or an occupation, whether they're talking about space or history, natural history, there are so many things that we've had a chance to expose the general public to here in Idaho. We always talk about bringing the world to Idaho and Idaho to the world. And this is a prime example of bringing those pieces in and showing them a little different angle on the world. And then on top of that, we've told a lot of the Idaho story. And the Idaho story sometimes is ignored in Idaho. There are a lot of people who don't know their own story, so it's been fun to remind them of that. And then there are people who are coming in as tourists that they're on their way to Yellowstone National Park or Grand Teton National Park or Jackson Hole. So this little corner of Idaho, they don't know a whole lot about. They're just traveling through, and there's so much history here. And to be able to connect our history with national history or world history, we forget how connected we really are. There are so many things so many places that you can go to glean information about something. You can go to a documentary, you can go to a book, the internet is such an extraordinary tool. But an exhibit, actually having artifacts from a particular time or a particular incident that people have held in their hands, there's a personal, almost aura about that. There's an emotional connection in a museum to artifacts that you can't get from another source. Our newest offering here at the museum is Under the Canopy, which is a good reminder of the impact that we have on the rest of the world and that the rest of the world has on us. It's an overview of some of the creatures of the rainforest, everything from snakes and tarantulas and lizards, turtles. And when you put a face to those creatures and get up close and personal, it's just a reminder to be a good steward. That what's happening in the rainforest right now and the fact that it's diminishing, there are certain things that we can do within our own everyday life that can play a factor there. So there's a message to this exhibit, but it's also just a whole lot of fun. Being able to get up close and personal, being able to see some of these creatures and be able to actually get very close to them. There are 3 presentations per day at 11, 2, and 4, where one of the handlers that travel with the exhibit actually shares some information about at least 2 species. So you get a chance to see them without the glass, without a cage, and in some cases you might actually be able to touch them if they're in the mood. And it's just an incredible experience. And we're grateful for having the handlers here. They take such wonderful care of these creatures. One of the things that I was apprehensive about was the idea of the care of these animals and where they came from, where they were going next. Little Ray's, who is the exhibitor, is AZA accredited, actually Canadian AZA accredited, which basically means that there's an oversight committee to make sure that the animals are handled well and well cared for. And not only that, but there's a communication that happens in between some of those zoological organizations that they can go to for help or advice if there's an issue. So I felt really good bringing it in, but much like Genghis Khan, having that human side, that presentation side, it's far from stagnant. I'll say that. It is a completely different look than we've had in the exhibit hall before, and I encourage all of you to come while it's here to enjoy, and particularly on those cold winter days. It's 72 degrees in here and balmy, so find your way in here and leave your coat in the lobby. So my friend and I don't want to strong-arm you, but we do want to remind you that the Museum of Idaho is a standalone 501(c), which means we're a nonprofit. We don't get funding from the state or from the city. Our funding comes from ticket sales, sponsorship, donors, and some grants. So I just want to remind you that your dollars, however you're spending them in the museum, go to extraordinary lengths to bring new ideas and new experiences to the people of Idaho Falls, and to remind people who are coming through what an extraordinary place this is that we live. Thank you so very much.